Who's pitching what on the Croisette? What shows are selling? How busy are the delegates who've made the trip to Cannes? And what are the hottest trends in factual and scripted formats around the world right now?
TellyCast, the TV industry news review.
It's a Mipcom special show direct from Cannes this week as I chat with Virginia Mouseler from The Wit, Loren Baxter from Off the Fence, Samuel Kissous of Pernel Media and Loren Baxter from ShinAwil to find out how the first Mipcom for 2 years was for them. Plus, I catch up with Mipcom boss Lucy Smith to get the stats on the week's show. It's all coming up on this week's TellyCast Mipcom special. My first guest on this week's TellyCast is co-founder and CEO of The Wit, Virginia Mouseler. How are you, Virginia?
Well, thank you very much. Very well.
Lovely to have you on the show. And now, we're here at Mipcom in Cannes, and your Mipcom sessions are always high on the agenda for delegates. It's often the only conference session that many of these delegates make time for. Obviously, all the rest of their schedules are full of the one-to-one 30-minute meetings, but your sessions are always a high point. So at this year's Mipcom, you're giving 2 presentations. Tell us about those.
So the first presentation is about the non-scripted formats, entertainment, game shows. And the second is about scripted shows that might become scripted formats, but basically it's fiction.
Just before we go into talking about those in a little bit more detail, tell us about The Wit and the background. So where are you based?
We're based in Geneva, in Switzerland. And actually it started like a hobby for my partner and myself, because we were absolutely fascinated by TV programs around the world.
Yeah.
So our ultimate fantasy was to read all the TV programs from England, USA, Spain, Germany. And we did that for fun, like a little newsletter in the beginning in our kitchen. And then we had no business plan. We had nothing in mind, just having fun and being interested in what we were reading. And then we started to record on VHS the shows from friends living abroad, and suddenly we send this newsletter to a couple of producers and broadcasters, and oddly enough, they asked us to become a company, to become The Wit, and now almost 25 years.
Wow.
After that, we have a real database, we have a real company, we have a real IT guy. And we're here at Mipcom. Can never believe it, actually.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to ask you how many years ago that was, but maybe the VHS reference
exactly.
probably gives us that idea. So, tell us about your business model.
It is we're basically a database with newsletter, and we have subscribers that have access to all our. All parts of our database, but also to a newsletter that we send, and also to specific report that they can ask us if they want to research on a specific topic or a specific type of show. So it is subscriber based, and they can also call us for any specific questions. So we're very flexible, and we like to have real contact with our subscribers, and not just being a code screen.
So your Mipcom sessions then, are these purpose-built presentations specifically for Mipcom then every year? Is that how does
it's totally exclusive for Mipcom.
Right.
And I do it only here, and I prepare my selection thinking of the wide public, wide audience and different audience of Mipcom.
Producers and distribution businesses are always, always talking about what you're going to be presenting. So can you give us a bit of a snapshot of what you're presenting this week? So first of all, in terms of fresh formats.
I only take very recent formats, not older than this summer, not older than 2 months. And then I like to present shows that are not the most popular in the country, because all the industry knows them already. But mostly shows that people have not seen, or that have been maybe commissioned but not broadcast yet, or even paper formats which are developed enough to be a real mechanism, a real format. So this time we had a lot of dating shows, an incredible number of dating shows, which is not, I can't say it's a new trend at all, because there have always been dating shows, and it's a real very classic type of shows for TV. But what we felt this time is, over the past 2 years with COVID, we were thinking of how to produce in the pandemic time, how to connect with your viewers. Can you produce with the actors that can't touch, So how to produce with new storylines, new narrative, etc. And actually what I realized is now you want the good old-fashioned, dating shows with fun, a lot of game shows, which is not, jumping to another... we want our life back. And in general, we want a fresh start, because we don't want it to be like before, but in a way we want our familiar space.
Yes.
And that's what we can show, we can see this year. So a lot of dating, but with games. So we want to have fun. A lot of talent shows, but with a game. A lot of guessing games, very simple quizzes. And also something that made us laugh, or that was maybe a bit counter-intuitive, is I didn't expect after COVID that you would have so many shows that took place in tiny spaces. You have dating show in a tiny house, a competition of builders of tiny houses.
Right.
You have My Tiny Restaurant. You have a competition best in miniatures. So really, I thought after 2 years of lockdown, I would expect plenty of adventure shows or, white...
The great outdoors. Exactly. And something more expansive.
Absolutely. And no, you have plenty of tiny spaces. So, of course, it's because, there is a trend of tiny spaces in factual documentaries, because it's a trend in the society with a limited budget to have our own house, or maybe a camping car turned into a house after COVID. But still, in television, it's really obvious that you want to have your nest. You want to have your small dream of a restaurant that comes in a container. You have a lot of boxes, a lot of holes, a lot of traps, a lot of mystery personality, hidden singer. Everything is, behind a mask or in tiny spaces, and you have to guess, you have to imagine.
And so what we're seeing are these formats that are born out of COVID, essentially. We're talking about these shows have been developed and produced under COVID conditions, and now they're coming and seeing the light, if you like. And so it's a new wave of almost COVID programming, if you like.
I don't think it's really COVID programming, because it shows that people need a link, need to be close together. And there is a couple of dating shows taking place in tiny houses or vans. And actually, it's to start again with love. A tiny house or a van is okay, but maybe after 2 years, you need more space, obviously. But I don't think it's because of COVID, but it's just here at MIP, we're really happy to reunite. We're happy to see each other, and so maybe it's the same trend that you want to have some warm contacts with people. You have to have a nest.
Yeah. Okay, that's fascinating. And in terms of scripted projects in your presentation, what are you seeing there?
Oh, there we saw a trend that is very strong, and because when we select, we never do showcases. We watch everything that we have in our database, day by day. And then for fiction, it's very difficult to choose, because you have plenty of types of fiction which are high quality. But what I want in my presentation usually is to tell a story for the non-scripted and the scripted. So I want to tell a story. And here, obviously, we had a trend of fiction with angry women against domination. and it was the most watched, the most streamed fiction on Netflix is this Korean show, The Squid Game.
Yeah.
And we had the impression there was a fight against domination. So that's why we branded this fiction presentation, Fiction Against Domination. And among all the shows where somebody fights against something, you have a lot of women lead characters that fight, of course, against maybe a violent husband, or like Angela Black, for instance, but also women that team up together to be friends, and very different women. And what I thought it's funny. We have at least 4 or 5 fiction from very different places, from Nordics, from the South, from everywhere, with very different types of women that become friends. And I wondered, do the men have the same ability to become a friend with a very different guy? So maybe that would be after Mipcom, my own reflection. But definitely in this year's fiction, there are a lot, even in Turkey, 3 women who want to get rid of their husbands, and it turns into a comedy. A Dutch show that's called Deep Shit, also with 2 women very different who get into a unplanned crime story. It's comedy, it's fighting against domination, and it's, I think, very interesting as a red line for the fictions.
Okay, so miniaturization and close contact when it comes to format trends, and also dominant women in scripted.
Yes.
Okay, well that's...
Well, not dominant. They were victims, but
they're fighting back. Okay.
It's not authoritarian and dominant women. It's
right.
Women who have been victims and who say, now enough is enough.
Yeah, they're fighting back.
Yes.
Okay, fascinating. How are you seeing Mipcom then, going up and down the Croisette and going into the Palais? What's your experience been so far?
A lot of emotion to be reunited. A lot of emotion, a lot of friendship, a lot of kind of oxygen, and also as there are obviously less people because there are no Asian people, not a lot of American people. In a way, you have more time to see each other. And I had a friend who told me, can you imagine, I just had a 1-hour meeting. It's wonderful, a 1-hour meeting. It's really, and maybe that is the new, our fresh life. I mean, we wanted, actually the like I saw in the non-scripted presentation, it's not about technology, it's not about adventure, it's just about friendship, emotions, to have fun together, and to have time, because maybe people are fed up of back-to-back meetings here at MIP, and back-to-back Zoom meetings maybe.
Yes, we're living our lives in those half-hour compartments across the day. But well, that's right. I mean, that's I've certainly heard a lot of people have got a lot of meetings, but you're right. Maybe there's a slightly less frenetic vibe. Virginia, thank you so much for joining me. Really enjoyed chatting to you. And for anybody who wants to see your sessions, presumably they can watch that on catch up on the Mipcom website.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
all right.
I think for 1 month there is a stream.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Justin. It was a pleasure.
So my next guest on this Mipcom special is Loren Baxter, Head of Acquisitions, Off the Fence. How are you?
Hi, Justin. I'm really good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, not at all. Great to see you. You're now Loren Baxter. You got married fairly recently, didn't you?
I did, right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Which was not fun.
Yeah.
But we did it and tied the knot, and now a year on. Mental how quick it's gone.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Congratulations
Thank
then.
you.
So how are you finding Mipcom?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I think it's so nice to finally see people face to face, people that you've maybe only met on Zoom before, or friends that you haven't seen for a while. I think there is a a buzz around. People are just so excited to be in person, meetings again.
Yeah. Obviously, we know it's smaller. We always knew it was going to be smaller. Smaller, but there is a buzz around, I think.
Yeah.
It feels quite buzzy. And as a smaller distributor on the whole distribution landscape, you've obviously made the commitment to be here. You've got a team here. You've got a stand here. And I guess what I wondered was, do you think the smaller distribution companies who've made the effort, made the trip out to Cannes, do you think you may be benefiting as a result of physically being here with the big distribution teams not here? I mean, there are buyers here, right? There are plenty of buyers here. So do you think that's an advantage? Are you seeing that, do you think?
I think it's going to be hard to tell as of right now, but I do think we all know there's value in face-to-face. Last year, we all knew we could work remotely, work digitally. So I think the bigger distributors and even ourselves, we know we can do it. We know we can work in that way. But coming here and seeing some people for the first time, I had some meetings that were, game changers just from meeting those people face to face. I do think you can't put a price on actually having that physical face to face with a client. It's just so different to Zoom.
Yeah.
And you do pick up other bits and pieces that you wouldn't normally talk about on a Zoom. Zoom is quite formal often.
Yeah.
And whereas the vibe here is quite relaxed and people are really enjoying just chatting and kind of having a bit of a gossip.
Yeah.
So it's all those things you pick up when you come to these events that you can't really replace on a Zoom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's almost an intangible value, isn't it, of being face to face and all of those other sort of added benefits. You go around the corner and see somebody that you didn't realise that was there, or you see someone in a restaurant. I
had a few people come up to me today just from sitting at the stand that just saw the stand, and I forgot how that does normally happen when you come to these markets. People do pass your stand and they do drop their business cards in, and when you think back to all the meetings that you had that were based on those kind of, just one-off chance that you met someone, started a whole new, possible business venture or new client. So, you do forget these little things when you don't travel to these events.
And it's quite pleasant, isn't it? The sun's out. The sun's out
I went
on the
for my
Croisette.
first lunch on the beach today and I went, oh my God, I can't. I'm so excited. This is what I've come here for.
Exactly. So in terms of, you're saying it's a little bit more relaxed, and that's something that Virginia said when we spoke to her for the show, that, some of the meetings have gone into an hour meeting, which is much more conducive, because we know the half-hour meetings actually turn out to be 20-minute meetings or so. People are late and then they've got to leave for the next one, which might be at a hotel somewhere or wherever it might be. I mean, how many meetings do you have scheduled, and are they good quality meetings?
Yeah, I think I probably have about maybe 10 in the diary a day. And actually that's probably less than I would normally have, because like you said, I did schedule most of them hours. I met a lot of them off the stand, had a coffee. So I thought, okay, it's going to be a lot more relaxed. We'll probably have, you also haven't seen these people face to face for, nearly 2 years. So those 20-minute half-hour meetings was never going to be possible seeing these people for the first time. But I did notice that it got a lot busier towards the sort of last week before I travelled. And so I did sort of make some of them half an hour. Yeah. But I think having that hour meeting it does give you a better feeling of just being more relaxed and just enjoying the time you have with that person, which is really valuable. I think you're not necessarily here to actually do any proper business, but the business is being done with the catch up, which is doing,
Well, it's relationship building, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's maintaining and rebuilding those relationships. So you're head of acquisitions of the Fence. So in terms of content that you're looking to acquire, what is doing well off the Fence at the moment, and what are you looking for more of?
Well, I mean, so we, just for those that might not know us, we do sort of everything in the factual space. So from natural history through to history to science, so people and culture, travel, feature docs. I would say at the moment, natural history for us is something that people know us for, but it definitely is even more important now, especially with, the environment, climate change, solution-driven documentaries. I think it's still booming massively. So we're, that for us is kind of a key area. History is big for us. So maybe ancient civilizations, mystery, unique access. And I've said it before, but also bringing science into that. So, what can we learn about the past? We have a series that we are distributing now from Impossible Factual, called The Secrets to Civilization, and it's looking at history from the perspective of, you know, climate change and how climate actually impacted the growth and the fall of some of those civilizations, which is completely fascinating to me, that we're even learning now that things weren't that we maybe knew of them at the time. So I think science and history is a big area for us. Unique access, talent is becoming more important, it seems, especially with the streamers.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd say sort of those are the big areas for us at the moment.
What are the main titles you're focusing on in Cannes? What are your sort of top priorities to sell?
Yeah, so that's obviously one of the big history titles that we've got. We're also doing another history title with WMR called Royals Keeping the Crown, which is a colorized series looking back at kind of the rise and the rebranding of royal families around the world. We are also launching a one-off special called The Alternative Guide to Saving the Planet, which is kind of a quirky, solution-driven doc about the ways in which we can all help to save the planet. We are also doing a history series called Forgotten Front Lines by a Canadian company called Go Button Media. We're also exclusively representing Terra Marta Factual Studios. We've got a number of their, you know, brilliant documentaries, one called Eyes of the Orangutan, looking at the pet trade. So, and then we're also doing a nice sort of lifestyle series, travel series with Dan Sharp from Dash Pictures called Fantastic Friends, which has got the two Harry Potter twins fronting it, taking, you know, all of their sort of famous friends around the world, going to cool and quirky places.
And that's something really impressive. And you've not even read off any there. That's what a salesperson's like. That's pretty good. So what about the buyers? And you say you're spending more time with the buyers. I mean, are you finding that the key buyers are here? I mean, are there plenty of buyers?
Well, it's probably more of a question for our sales director, Stephanie. She sort of manages our global sales and our German-speaking sales. And we've also got Oliver, who's here with me, who's our digital director.
Is Bo here?
Bo, no. I think he's sitting pretty in the Amsterdam office, keeping everything under control.
Right.
I think he's very jealous. He has asked to be informed daily, with daily updates. So, yeah, I mean, we're here. I mean, there are buyers here. Yeah, I think there's a lot of Europeans here, rather than necessarily some of the North Americans or some of the more Asian-focused clients. But there's definitely enough here to kind of make the trip worth coming. Good.
Okay. Well, I guess that's all you can ask for, and at the first Mipcom back from the pandemic. So, listen, I'm going to let you go. It's about rosé o'clock right now. So, thank you, Loren, for joining. It's great to see you.
And me.
Yeah, not at all. And I'll see you on the Croisette.
Yeah. See you later.
Now, it felt appropriate, as we're in Cannes, to have an authentic and knowledgeable French voice on the show. And I'm delighted to welcome Pernel Media President ShinAwil Kissous to the show. How are you, ShinAwil?
Thank you, Justin. I'm great, and I hope I will live up to your expectation that I'm knowledgeable about anything.
Well, I hope so too. Full disclosure to our listeners, I handle your PR. I'm obviously not going to be asking you anything too tricky, but obviously today there was an announcement that was the talk of the Croisette. Vivendi have invested in your business, so congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. So indeed, we've been informing our partners here at MIP of our new shareholding structure and the fact that we are continuing to operate as a autonomous entity, working with all our broadcast and distribution partners around the world and in France. And we're very excited to keep doing what we've been doing with even more ambition.
Yeah, and that will presumably mean international expansion at some point.
Yes, indeed. International has always been our main focus. And Céline Lehmann joining us earlier this year from Arte Distribution, where she was head of international distribution. So Céline Lehmann joining us is really proof of that strategy that we want to pursue. So Céline is going to be working with us, developing those very ambitious international series that we want to produce with our partners.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll come to talk about a couple of those in a second. Well, actually, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're pitching at Mipcom this year?
we're, discussing a very wide range of factual series that we've been developing over the past couple of months. We're still very strong on archaeology, so we recently announced 2 major archaeology projects. One is about Ramses the Great in Egypt, and the other one is a major discovery which was made in Yucatan. It's about the Mayas. It's about the origins of the Mayas, and it's a big breakthrough discovery made by an American researcher. So we're very excited about these ones, but we're very diversified as a company. We work on quite a large range of things. So we also are working on natural history. We are working on history. World War II is always very interesting, and we have a new series mixing trains and World War II, which we're really excited about.
Okay. All right. Well,
which we haven't announced yet.
Okay. You just have.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to add is we're also starting to discuss a new project in the world of scripted, which is one of our new initiatives, something we've been starting to develop for the past 2 years. And then, COVID made it a little bit more difficult last year, but we're definitely back on track to pursue also those new scripted developments, and very excited about them as well.
Okay. Just, looking at who's here, and there's obviously lots of French businesses, as you might expect. I don't know whether there's more than there usually would be, or maybe it's because of less American businesses here that's maybe a little bit more noticeable. But do you think the French businesses that are here stand to benefit from the fact that there are relatively few US studios here pitching to the buyers that are here?
I think we're all really happy to be back. But the truth is, a lot of people are just not here. Mm-hmm. So, when we were in the process of setting up the meetings, we realized that a lot of people that we would usually meet here were not coming. Interestingly, also, we're here for Mipcom, but there's also a Cannes series at the same time. And so, I was just talking to you about the fact that we're doing also scripted projects now. Yeah. So, that's why Cannes series is also interesting for us. I guess in terms of the quality of the meetings, it feels that people have a little bit more time. So I would say that's the positive side of this. On the flip side, it feels it's going to be a little bit shorter in terms of how long people are staying, because it's just not so many people to meet.
Okay.
So it feels like by tomorrow morning, pretty much everything will be done.
Okay, which is the Wednesday morning, because
yes,
we're recording this on the Tuesday. So traditionally, French TV producers, I think I'm probably right in saying this, that they're being a little bit more inward looking into producing for the French market, and maybe not so internationally focused. And, your business and Federation, for example, are the names that stick out, I think, as French producers that are making, the trips to the US and selling content to US networks and UK networks. Why is that? Why have French producers not really focused internationally up to this point?
How many hours do you have? Well, first of all, to your point, yes, it's true that we work very widely with partners in the UK, in the US, Germany, and from other parts of the world as well. We had great meetings this morning also with people from Southern Europe. So yes, we've always been quite obsessed with coming up with the right projects that can travel. And I think it all starts with development. If you want to be working internationally, you have to make it a top priority, and you need to develop those projects that are viable for international activity. So I think one way to answer your question is to say, well, why? Well, maybe they were not focusing on these types of projects. Maybe the slots available with the broadcasters were not helping them to come up with these types of projects. When we developed The Real War of Thrones, which was one of our first really big tentpole series that traveled really well afterwards, it was that kind of thing where for years people were telling us, oh no, we don't have space for these kinds of series. And then after maybe 3 years of pitching it, then eventually we got it on the air, and it was very successful. And then it became successful returning series airing in many other countries as well. So I think we tried to create slots that were just not there. And so, yeah, it's a mix of, do we have time slots on the air with broadcasters who are willing to do these projects that can travel? And then within each company, are there people developing these kinds of projects that have the ability to travel? And then, you were saying that, yes, we're working with the US. I mean, I'm dying to go back. I'm part of the advisory board for the next Real Screen, which will take place in Texas next year in Austin. I think it would be great to travel there and meet all our partners in the US as well.
Yeah. Well, that was actually going to be my next question, was where's your next market after Mipcom? There's Content London is on the agenda, obviously, later this year, and also Real Screen. Will you be at both of those events?
I'm definitely contemplating going to Content London. In fact, I was asking people here yesterday and today, are you guys going? And from what I understand, a lot of people are going to be there, so that's great. And then usually there's the Congress happening in December.
The Science Congress.
Yes, the World Congress of Science and Factual. And it was going to be happening in Strasbourg. I think it's going to be mostly online with a few things happening here and there. So hopefully we can still be part of that as well. And then definitely Real Screen.
Well, Samuel, thank you for interrupting your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me here.
Not at all. I guess I'll see you in Texas with a 10-gallon hat on.
Oh yeah, that's the reason why I'm leaving I keep my hair growing right now. I just want to be ready for Texas. That's
Excellent.
The only reason why.
Excellent. Okay. Well, listen, thank you for joining us. Good luck with the rest of Mipcom, and we'll see you very soon.
Cheers.
My next guest on this Mipcom special show is Larry Bass, boss of ShinAwil Productions in Dublin. Great to have you back on the show, Larry.
Thanks, Justin. It's been a while. It feels like a whole lifetime. Here we are actually meeting people again, and I'm sitting in front of you.
Exactly. In person, which is very pleasant. It's always great to see a friendly face. And first of all, tell us how business is in Ireland now. How's the Irish industry come out the other end of COVID? Let's just hope, I'm touching some wood here, that it is the end of COVID. But how are things over there?
I think on the COVID front, like a lot of countries, we have, as a nation, fallen in love with the vaccine, and just tracking 90% of the population over 12 are fully vaccinated.
Right.
So I'd like to think that that'll help us see out the other side of COVID, but it hasn't gone away. Production-wise, I think the general production business is not quite back to full tilt, but is very busy. It's incredibly busy on the scripted side. I think that's a combination of so much pent-up demand for content was built up over the pandemic, both in the UK, Ireland, US. So many shows need to get made. Ireland's a very attractive European base to make drama if you want to make it in English language. So we've had a remarkable few months as a result. We've been given the gift of time by COVID. We never have had the time to develop. So we spent all of our time in lockdown when we couldn't be in production. We turned our production team into quasi-development people. We got some support from government in doing that. We got further investment done by the Irish government through their export board, which allowed us really, for the first time, to be able to really dig deep into development. That allowed us to develop a number of new scripts on our TV drama front. So our TV drama slate is very healthy, thank you. And we're now out trying to find homes for all of it. We also developed a couple of new non-scripted formats. And again, because we had the time, we were able to get really deep into the structure of the shows. And 2 of those shows have been commissioned. One has been on air on RTE, Soundtrack to My Life. It's a show where musical singers or bands come in, and it's like a This Is Your Life for a songster, except they tell their musical life and influences. They pick the songs that have helped propel their career, whether it's their songs or other influences. And it's all backed by a concert orchestra. So it's a beautiful entertainment show for Saturday night in RTE. And we've featured acts like Codaline, Johnny Logan, Celine Byrne is an opera singer, and
you're selling that as a format? I mean,
yeah. So it's first time out with it down here is just introducing it to people. It's an unusual show because it's full concert orchestra. You don't usually see it in an entertainment show these days. No. It is a lifetime ago that most broadcasters had concert orchestras featuring on a lot of shows. Not anymore. So bringing them back into an entertainment show and sticking them with a rock and roll band and a Eurovision legend and a few other things like that, it's been really interesting. And then the host will take them through their musical career and find some interesting stories along the way. So it's a really nice show.
Well, I guess that for bands, they don't get the opportunity of working with a concert orchestra, and they're presumably playing together and interpreting some of their big hits and the songs that have influenced them, right?
Yeah, I mean, the bands like Codaline in our first show, they had to sit down with the musical director of the orchestra and actually work out the dots for the full orchestra. So that project alone for them to look into is like something that they wouldn't normally do. They probably would have arranged some strings on a recording session, or, you know, maybe had other specials, but actually having to orchestrate, a number of their tracks for a full orchestra. It's an amazing experience. And to be in the room for the recording, fantastic, really is.
Right. Well, I wish you all the best with that. That sounds fantastic.
So I'm still looking for a distributor, Justin.
Okay. All right. Well, anybody listening, then, and you're presumably, you say you're obviously pitching that at Mipcom. Here we are.
And we're pitching our other show that we developed called Last Singer Standing, which actually doesn't air on RT1 until October the 23rd. It's a new talent show. And we've been the home of many talent shows over the years. We did Pop Stars, Eurostar, we did The Voice. So we know a thing or two about talent shows. So to be able to create our own original one, it's always exciting. This is a talent show inside a game show. So it's a new Saturday night show for RTE1. We're delighted to have RTE work with us in developing the show. Nicky Byrne from Westlife is the presenter. The pop superstar panel of judges are Nadine Coyle from Girls Aloud, who first came to prominence when she was in Irish Pop Stars 20 years ago. So it's full circle. Joey Fatone from NSYNC and Samantha Mumba. And then we've got a whole array of fantastic new talent coming into studio in every show. And that whole series is pre-recorded. We're delighted with the output. And again, I'm down here talking to potential distributors for a new Shiny Floor format.
Right. And they're both music-based shows, obviously, and I know you've got a big background in music TV in the past in Ireland, and obviously adapting some of the world's biggest formats in Ireland as well. Is that the future for you then? Now developing more and more of your original formats and seeing what's next on the music format development, if you like, going forward.
Yeah, we won't be just focusing on music. We will also work on fact-end shows. Like we've done shows like MasterChef, The Apprentice, Dragon's Den. So, we've got a new business show we're working on. We hopefully will find a home for that show soon. We've got a couple of other format ideas. So we're certainly doubling down on the development and further investment on original content. We're still lucky enough to be in production. We're about to start pre-production on Dancing with the Stars, which did take a break because of COVID, but it's come back and hopefully it'll come back with a bang. It's been the biggest show in Ireland for a number of years. We're still doing Banijay's Home of the Year, which is a lovely fact-end show, property show. It's now gone into its 8th season. So the non-scripted side, really busy. On the scripted side, we've got a new series which we hope to get into production mid next year, Clean Sweep, a co-production with Element 8 from Los Angeles, and a bunch of other partners on that show. For, again, RTE will be the Irish broadcaster and other broadcasters around the world pre-buying it. We've a feature film co-production with Sepia Films in Canada, going into production in February next year, written by an Irish writer, Kieran Craig, and directed by a Canadian director, Vic Saran, shot in west of Ireland, Donegal and Mayo. Thanks to the regional fund in Donegal and Mayo to facilitate that with Screen Ireland support as well. And we've a second film which we hope to get going in April next year, a co-production with a London-based company, Zephyr Films, on a script featuring talent like Maggie Smith, Kathy Bates, and Laura Denny. So the feature side is busy. We've a feature documentary we're about to launch soon as well. And I can safely say that we're probably healthier coming out of COVID than we were going in. Even though for a short few months it was awful. It was terrible having to let go of so many talented people you worked with for many, many years. But thankfully, a lot of them are back with us, and hopefully all the production people we would have worked with will be back working on the show with us soon.
Well, I was going to ask you that, actually, in the sense of all of that forced development, if you like. Many producers, particularly of scripted content, have gone through over the last 18 months. Do you expect in another year's time to not quite be saying, thank God for COVID, but I mean, in terms of that focus that you've had to actually, really, as you say, double down in development, and it sounds like it's going to be bearing fruit for you over the next year and hopefully in the future beyond that.
I think it's hugely important, and the lesson is that you must treat development with much more reverence, actually invest more time, and obviously that means you're going to have to invest more resource. You can't do it fleetingly. And I think too many people in busy production companies, development just gets left a little as the poor cousin. And it should be front and center of the future of the business. And that's certainly something we will try and double down on. We've also added two other elements to the business. Because we got backed by Enterprise Ireland, who are basically our export board. We've hired a guy in Los Angeles to help connect us into both talent and production partnerships in the US for some of our ideas to pitch in the first instance in the US. When you're working in a small country like Ireland, where you've really only got a couple of broadcasters to pitch to, sometimes the ideas either don't suit those broadcasters, or you just know you're not going to be able to have this degree of success you need to sustain a growing business. So we're also now pitching in the States. Chuck Labella is our employee over in LA. His background is in talent. So what he has done very successfully for us is connect us with good production partners, knowing the concept of the show, connecting them then with talent. He's got a black book of contacts you would not believe. And already through that connection, we've got a couple of shows in early stage paid development with US networks. So that's a whole other new world for us. And to facilitate the shooting of our new talent show and the forthcoming series of Dance with the Stars, and knowing as well how difficult it was to get into film studios, we've also opened up a new film studio, the first TV and film studio in Dublin City. We were the only capital city in the EU without a film studio. There are studios in Ireland, but not in Dublin City.
Right.
So we've opened Fonthill Studios with another company. It's not a ShinAwil studio. It's a separate business, but it's something we had to take the risk and jump in and invest and get it open because, frankly, there was just no space. That's how busy the scripted business is in Ireland.
We can see that all the news about new studio complexes springing up all over the UK, and obviously that is the same in many other territories around Europe and wider afield, just with the whole SVOD thirst for drama. So, well, good luck with that. I'm sure that's something that's going to be successful. Talking about Mipcom, we obviously had Samuel on the show a little bit earlier on. You're the second producer on the show now. How are you finding Mipcom as a producer? Because there's not many Brits here, Brit producers. So is it an open goal for you?
I don't think anything is a slam dunk. This is a business that you need to be absolutely consistent, persistent all the time, always. It's been a little easier not having, meetings on the half hour, fighting through 14,000 people, and there's only probably 4,000. So that makes it a little bit more bearable, considering it's such beautiful weather this week. Everyone is sat at home. They could be down here in the sunny southeast of France. So from that point of view, we're doing business. I'm busy. And even Samuel, who, I only met Samuel at Series Mania earlier this year. And I think by the fact that we decided we're going to go to these events, I know it's early doors. I know COVID hasn't gone away, but sometimes you got to risk it. And get out there and do things and probably get ahead of the posse. And through that, going to Series Mania, we're actually talking to ShinAwil about a potential show. And, you know, I'm a full believer that this is a people business, and people do better business when you're face to face, when you can sit down and have a coffee, whether it's, you know, just a proper meeting, which great and all Zoom is. And I think Zoom's new role in the future, once we all get back to some sort of near normal, will be very helpful in secondary meetings, and the ability to cut down on the sheer volume of trips you would have to do to complete a project. But I think that first initial meeting, when you want to pitch an idea, you want to meet a new co-producer, that's a face-to-face thing. It isn't going to go away. You know, this business is built of people who want to work with people who they get on with, people that they can have a glass of rosé with or a pint of Guinness with, and, you know, want to do that again and again and again, because this is a tough business. And I think you can build relationships to a degree on the phone or on a laptop, but really it requires that face-to-face to complete it.
And it's trust, isn't it? I think trust is a big part of it. It's obviously communication, but also we're talking about projects that involve lots and lots of people and lots and lots of money as well in many cases, particularly in scripted. So you got to trust your partners.
You got to get to know people. You know, I know things aren't going too well for Leeds United this year, Justin. West Ham are actually doing okay, but, you know, you and I wouldn't get to talk about as much football if we didn't see each other from time to time.
This is very true, and I'm going to pick that up offline actually with you later on. We're going to have a pint of Guinness because it is nearly Guinness o'clock as we speak and we record this. So I look forward to that, Larry. Listen, thank you for coming on the show. It's lovely to see you again. All the best with the rest of your meetings.
Thanks a million, Justin. Good luck at all.
So here we are at the end of our Mipcom special show, and who better to talk to us a little bit about how Mipcom was Lucy Smith again. Welcoming Lucy back on the show. How are you, Lucy?
A little tired, but absolutely thrilled and exhilarated to have managed to get back to Cannes and to have put Mipcom on.
Yeah, well, congratulations on pulling it off. There didn't seem to be any shortage of buyers, because I think that was one of the things that people were maybe talking about before the market. How many people are going to be here? How many exhibitors, how many buyers? Can you just give us a bit of a rundown on some of the key stats?
Yeah, of course. We've had around 4,500 participants, including 1,200 buyers, 145 stands from 38 countries, 14 national pavilions. So there's really been a great audience for people to have a lot of very good and busy schedules and a lot of meetings.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been picking up from people. The people that have actually been here have had no shortage of meetings, and it's probably not a surprise when you think about those numbers. That's almost a quarter of the attendees were buyers, right? So that's pretty impressive. What about MIP TV? What's going to be happening next year?
Okay, well, MIP TV, we're already working on that and talking to all of our clients about it. Will take place from the 4th to the 6th of April. We're going to actually deliver on that transformation that we were initiated in 2020 before we had to cancel. So we will be delivering a 3-day business efficient market. So it used to be a 4-day market preceded by a weekend, which had MIP doc and MIP formats. So we've decided to bring all of that together under one roof over 3 days in the Palais. We are also having Cannes Series back to its normal annual venue.
So it's usually in April, isn't it? Is that right? Or
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's usually in April. Due to the pandemic, it moved to Mipcom, and especially this year because it actually happened in person. So Cannes Series will take place alongside MIP TV. And also our show Esports Bar, so Esports Business Arena, which I know you've talked about a bit on your shows recently. We will be co-locating that alongside MIP TV and looking to develop more of those synergies between the two industries.
Obviously, we know it's a smaller market, but it did feel that I've heard that a lot of people using the word energy. You know, the people had a lot of meetings, and it was lovely to sit in the sun and chat to people and meet people and bump into people and bump into people at the bars, and that's where those business opportunities do come from, right? It's not necessarily the half-hour meetings, or some people have been having longer meetings here, but it is about seeing somebody over the bar and go, oh, it's those guys, and then it just seems to, I don't know, there seemed to be a bit of pent-up energy around that, so it was lovely to see that.
No, I agree, and I think that's something we've always talked about, is those serendipitous moments of just like running into someone and then suddenly sharing an experience and meeting a new potential business contact. And I do also agree that, you know, it's not only been about those 30-minute meetings, you know, there's been a lot of them, but it's been about spending a bit more time. It's been about, you know, we've been seeing a lot more about people talking about, you know, reconnecting, celebrating, and it's the joy of being back and knowing that we can actually keep on doing these shows.
Yeah.
And we do it a little differently, but we've got the sunshine of Cannes as well. We've been absolutely spoilt by that. So there's been a lot, as you said, Justin, a lot of people out on the terraces and enjoying.
A few late nights as well.
I know, exactly.
Well, Lucy, congratulations on pulling the show off. It was, it was a really enjoyable event, and we'll see you for MIP TV next year.
We certainly will. Thank you, Justin, for being here and having done TellyCast from Mipcom in Cannes.
Well, that's about it for this week's Mipcom special show. Thanks a lot for listening. I hope you enjoyed a little snapshot from the world's biggest content market as the TV industry gets together in person once again. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to TellyCast and share it with friends and colleagues. And a quick reminder to sign up for our free newsletter called TellyCast Plus. It's packed with interesting TV industry stories of the week you might have missed, downloadable reports and surveys, and exclusive insight and opinion. It's all completely free. Just visit our website to sign up at telecast-podcast.com. And you can also follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. TellyCast was edited by Ian Chambers and recorded in Cannes. Until next Thursday, as always, stay safe.